and online at 800WVHU.com. Great to have you along on this Thursday morning, October 6th, 2011. And pleased to have with us former delegate in Hancock County in West Virginia, Republican Pat McGeehan. Good morning, Pat.
Hey, Tom. It's good to be with you this morning. I'm just chugging coffee here, trying to get my caffeine take up here.
I appreciate you coming on. Now,
I appreciate it.
Are you you were a delegate through last year? Is that right?
Yeah, I started out in 2008, and I left state office this past January, actually. So I served a couple of years down in Charleston, representing Hancock County and part of Brooke County, way up north here.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. So
now you're originally from New Cumberland, West Virginia. Went to Oak Glen High School, and then we're in the Air Force.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I'm actually originally from Chester, West Virginia. It's pretty much the northernmost town in the state of West Virginia. But yeah, in Hancock County, I did do some time in the Air Force. Went to school at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and did a tour over in Afghanistan and the Middle East, and got out after my commitment was up, and moved back home to the great state of West by God, Virginia. So yeah, I did do service. So,
are you looking to get back into the legislature, running for office once again?
Yeah, Tom, I'm heavily considering it. I'm leaning that way right now. Been trying to make my decision over the past month or two, but I'm leaning that way, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get back in. So yeah, I am.
Running for the House of Delegates or the Senate?
I haven't completely made my mind up, but it looks like I'll probably be running for the state Senate up here in the 1st Senatorial District, which is the Northern Panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there, and I know you're the chairman of the Republican Party in Hancock County, is there a strong Republican base in that part of the state?
We're working on that. When I first ran for the House back in 2008, there hadn't been a Republican elected from that district since about the Great Depression. So, but since then, we really, I think, are turning around. And this past November elections, actually, it was the first time that Hancock County, where I'm from, went Republican on every Republican candidate on the ballot. So I think the political tides are kind of shifting up here, and I think people are more and more realizing that, the other party, the traditional Democrats that are registered up here, have pretty much left, what their fundamental beliefs have been in the past. And so I think, they're looking for more options. So we are gaining a significant amount of headway. So I'm very pleased in that.
What were your thoughts on the results of the special election, and how did Bill Maloney do in your part of the state?
Well, let's see. In the Northern Panhandle, you got Ohio County, Brooke County, and Hancock County. And Ohio County actually went for Bill Maloney. Hancock County, I think it was about 50-50. But that's strongly indicative because, as you know, West Virginia traditionally in the last few presidential elections have gone Republican, but that has yet to filter down to the state level races. But in this case, it was a clear-cut choice between a state office for the office of governor. That was the only office on the ballot with a special election. And, I was very pleased to see that now folks are starting to, that national sentiment with West Virginia going Republican on the national level, it's starting to filter down to the state level offices as well. So I was very pleased with Bill Maloney's election and what he was able to do in such a short amount of time and with very little name recognition. And I really think that people do want some sort of shift. They want a two-party system, a true two-party system. So I'm very optimistic. And, Bill Maloney, I can't talk more highly enough about the man. He's just a very genuine person. He's a very honest guy, and I've grown to know him over the past 6-7 months, and I was very impressed.
So why is it you think if this is starting to spiral down a little bit to the state offices, and I understand it was close 3 percentage points, 8,000 votes, but why do you think that somebody with 36 years in the West Virginia legislature, a Democrat with the type of cronyism that's been alleged with Earl Ray Tomlin, why is somebody like that still able to win in West Virginia?
In my opinion, it comes down to being able to perpetuate education that, the Democratic Party has left the so-called working man. They don't represent them, really. They represent a lot of special interests, and I'm not saying Republicans don't represent a lot of special interests as well, but I think it just comes down to being able to get across to folks that, we've had 80 years of one-party control in the state, and we really need to look at this democratically controlled legislature for the past 80 years and the economic conditions they presided over in office. And if we continue to educate and promote and get that message out, I think we're going to have even more positive results coming in the future. So we just need to keep working hard, get the message out, and I think the political winds are in our favor, especially going into the next election.
What are your thoughts about these protests that are going on across the nation? They call them the Wall Street occupiers, Occupy Wall Street, and there's a group forming down here in Huntington, Occupy Huntington, and so forth. What's your opinion about these people, mostly young people, that are going out and protesting who knows what?
Well, here's my thoughts. They've got flawed agendas, but it really comes down to the total collapse of our economy as of late. People are hungry, people are unemployed, and you see this type of social unrest, and I think it's going to get worse. My thoughts are that, these people I think are misguided, but, Wall Street has been basically in cahoots with the Federal Reserve, with big banks. There's an unholy alliance between government and big business, and
right.
I think some of those folks recognize that, but a lot of them are misguided, and I think this just represents unrest, growing social unrest. I mean, we've seen the protests and the riots over in Europe with their economic crisis still going on over there. I think that's going to get worse here in the United States as the economy, in my opinion, we're in a depression. I think history is going to look back and call this the second great American Depression. And people have to realize that, this isn't just some sort of one-year recession or downturn. This depression is going to go on for years to come, in my view, and we'll probably see more social unrest as things get worse and worse.
And how do you deal with that? I mean, how do you keep it from getting like it did in Greece and in London and so forth with the riots and things like that? How can America be different? Yeah, we have unrest. Yeah, we have people that are protesting on lots of different sides for lots of different reasons, some that they don't know what the reasons are. But how do you keep it from getting, just total anarchy, which is what I think some of the government want?
Right. Well, this is the problem in my mind. Things are going to be getting worse, and it all stems back from really at the federal level. Tom, I really believe that we have a major currency crisis in this country coming very soon, and we're going to have high levels of inflation, waves of inflation coming, hitting this country in the very near future. If you look at after the financial breakdown in 2008, we pursued the same policies that caused that financial breakdown. The Federal Reserve Bank, for instance, has literally been printing money or creating money out of thin air at exponential levels that we've never seen before in this country. I mean, since 2008, Tom, trillions of dollars have been created out of thin air to buy U.S. treasuries or inject more and more dollars into the system. So I think truly that we face an unprecedented amount of inflation that will come very soon, likely within the next year or two. Double-digit inflation could hit this country in the coming years, and inflationary environments usually tend to create more authoritarian government from Washington, D.C., and this is going to have a grave effect on West Virginia. And when that happens, when inflation hits big time because of this creating money out of thin air, that causes shortages. The federal government might even tinker with price and wage controls. I mean, for instance, in 1971, when Nixon finally dissolved the final link between the dollar and gold, inflation took off, and we had price and wage controls when inflation at the time was only 4%. Imagine if inflation hits double digits in this country, and we could see those same types of authoritarian policies coming from Washington to try to do the same kind of thing. And I think that's going to create shortages and even more social turmoil. But really, we need to get back, and I believe, to what the fundamental purpose of government is. And we need to reverse the spending. We need to reverse the deficits that we've been created year after year.
And Republicans, Pat, have been a part of that. You're starting to sound more like Ron Paul than a typical West Virginia Republican. Do you kind of line up with him?
I do. I served over in Afghanistan and in the Middle East, and a lot of people really don't know what's going on in there, and we keep perpetuating this corrupt foreign policy that we have to be the policeman of the world, and if you can't have a sane fiscal debate in Washington without addressing the just astronomical amounts of money we spend on military spending around the globe. And so we need to take that into account, so those are my thoughts. Yeah, I do line up with Ron Paul a whole lot. I mean, he makes a lot of sense. He's the only guy in Washington, really, that I trust. I mean, he's been consistent on policy for 30 years. And so, I think we need to get back to what the fundamental purpose of government is, and really to reverse things in our state and in Washington. We need to realize that the public, we need to change in the public's mind what the role of government ought to be. And we can begin the reverse course in Charleston, and we can do it at the federal level too. But my fear is that we won't be able to do it in a voluntary way. And I think it's going to take another financial crisis really to take a look at what we're doing and to reverse course. And that's unfortunate.
Pat McGeehan is a former Hancock County Republican delegate in West Virginia and a candidate in 2012. In fact, you can find him on Facebook, facebook.com/Pat McGeehan 2012, and look for his forthcoming book, Paper Money and the End of American Manufacturing. Listen, when you get that book done, I want you to send me a copy. We'll have you back on and talk about it, all right?
That'd be great. I appreciate it.
Okay, man.
Thanks, Tom.
Hey, Pat, thank you. Appreciate you coming on. Great to talk to you.
Hey, no problem. Thanks again.
All right, Pat McGeehan, former Republican delegate in West Virginia, here on the Tom Roten Morning Show, News Talk 800 WVHU.